all fans, to LFFL Primetime, the fastest 5 minutes in the LFFL universe. Gonna get you caught up on last week, look ahead to next week. I'm gonna start it all in the original league. Over here in week 8, we had Miles beating Andy, Josh beating Phil, Greg beating Matt, Eric a close one over Bill, and Todd beats myself. Looking at your standings, we have Miles sitting on top at 7-1, Josh disagreeing back at 6-2, Todd and I now tied for third at 5-3, Greg at 4-4, Andy, Eric, Phil all 3-5, tied for the final playoff spot, with Matt and Bill just a game out of the playoff race at 2-6. This week we have our first series of second games of the season coming up. The first one of those, Miles taking on Bill. Miles has one loss this year. That loss was to Bill back in week 4. Bill with a huge blowout over Miles. Bill's actually won the first 5 games in this young series. Josh taking on Matt. This is actually a rematch of Super Bowl 14, the first Super Bowl ever contested between two brothers in LFFL history. Matt won that game. However, Josh won the earlier game this year in a blowout in a high scoring game in week 5. Josh has actually traditionally won this series 17 games to 14 games. Todd taking on Eric. Todd also won in week 5 in high scoring affair. However, Eric does hold the lead in the series 27-24. Greg taking on Andy. Yes, our traditional season finale is going to happen also in week 8 here. So they have not played yet this year. Andy does hold the 22-19 lead in the series over Greg. Finally, I'm taking on Phil. This, of course, is a rematch of Super Bowl 3 where Phil blew me out. I did get a little revenge in Super Bowl 7. This is a rematch of a week 4 game that I won, and I do hold the 43-24 lead in the series over Phil. Good luck to you this week, my friend. LFFL2, we are winners. Andy wins the game of the year over Greg in blowout fashion, puts 93 points up on Greg to claim sole possession of first place in the LFFL2. Eric, Sean, Todd, Phil, your other winners this week. As I said, Andy 6-2 on top of this league. Greg, Eric, Sean, just a game back at 5-3. The Merrills and Bill sent 4-4. Myself, Todd, Phil at 3-5. Miles at 2-6. Looking ahead this week, Andy taking on Miles, Greg taking on Phil, Sean taking on Eric, Bill and the Merrills, Todd and myself. You can see got a lot of upper people versus lower people, so you could have a lot more parity or a lot more separation after this week. LFFL 3-year winners were Miles, Phil, Andy, Matt, Brennan, Bill, and Sean. This leaves Miles at 8-0, still leading this league by 2 games over Phil at 6-2. Couple teams at 5-3 in Andy and Bill. Matt, Merrill, Todd, Eric, Matt, Brennan, all 4-4 tied for those final playoff spots. Matt, Sean, and myself at 3-5, just game out. Greg and Nate at 1-7. I put this note in here. Greg at now at 1-7 means he's very likely to miss the playoffs. And a 6 teams out of 12 kind of thing, 500 is going to be dicey to begin with. He'd have to win out from here to get there. This would be the 3rd straight year he missed the playoffs. Greg traditionally has dominated this league, but the last few years have been rough. Is the magic gone, Greg? Has it gone somewhere? Week 9, we got Miles taking on Eric, Andy taking on Matt, Merrill, Matt Brennan against Bill, Todd versus Sean, Nate versus Greg, and Phil versus myself. LFFL4, congratulations to Mr. Greg Kaufman, his first win of the season, the 16th of his illustrious career. He has now won at least one time in all 5 seasons of our DraftKings League here. Eric, speaking of 5, has now been on the medal stand for 5 consecutive weeks, flying up this leaderboard. His second place finish this week allowed him to move up into second place in the standings. Greg jumped over me into first. Eric and I now sit tied for second. Todd hanging tight there in fourth with 43 points. Your other champions, Nate won Thursday Night Football for the 2nd straight week. Bill was able to take the Monday Night Crown. Look forward to trying to take Nate down this Thursday night. LFFL 5-year winners were Bill, Eric, Greg, Nate, and myself. Bill and Eric sit tied for first place and square off this week in week 9. I'm at 6-2. Greg at 5-3. Phil and Todd at 4-4. Andy, Nate, and Miles at 2-6. Sean at 1-7. As I said, Eric and Bill playing this week. Phil versus Todd. Nate versus Miles. Andy versus Sean. Greg versus myself. We have LFFL 6. Phil takes over your top spot, moving up with his 5.3. Our 2 biggest movers of the week were Greg and Josh, moving up 3 positions. Greg to 2nd, Josh to 4th. Slick does sit in 3rd. Look at the LFFL 7. Thomas was your elimination. Matt Merrill just within 1 point of being out, but he's a survivor. Cue Destiny's Child on that one. Josh is now tied Todd for the most career survivals in this league. He survived a week for the 30th time in the history of this league. Well done, Josh. Looking over here at the LFFL 8, Phil, his high score for the 3rd time in 4 weeks. He still leads this league. And then the LFFL 9, your Elite 8 scores Phil with a tight lead over me, Nate with a tight lead over Jeremy, Eric with a pretty big lead over Andy, and Todd absolutely handling 2-seed Matt. Your LFFL Player of the Year award, Andy maintains his top position. Josh sits in 2nd, but who told Eric and Coffins they could crash the Merrill Simons party? Unacceptable. Good luck this week.